Alrighty, Battlefield nerds. Today we have an update. Well, not like an in-game update, but like news. We've got some news covering map designs. We've got some news on whether or not support's getting cut for Battlefield 2042. And we've got some updates and news on what we can expect to come out in the future. So, if you go on to like this video, drop it a like. Drop it a dislike if you don't. I will leave links to everything in the description, including this news, so if you don't want to listen to me flap my gums, you can go click that and read it yourself. But let's get started. On February 1st, we reaffirmed our commitment to push up the quality of Battlefield 2042. Part of that commitment is to better clarify the design direction that we're taking and what's motivating our decisions to bring improvements to the game via a feedback loop that involves you, our players, more directly. Today, we'll kick off our first key area of focus, which is map design. Based on your feedback, we'll outline 5 main topics we've identified around the current problems that we face with gameplay on maps, their cause, and our current thought process and proposed changes on addressing these problems. Our intent for this is to be an open discussion with you, so we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback about our updated design goals for maps to ensure that we're making the right calls to bring improvements to the gameplay experience. Alright, first up we have traversal. One of the core issues we've identified is traversal. We both see and have heard your frustrations on how long it takes on maps today to travel between flags or from base spawn to a flag. This is true. It takes an ungodly amount of time, especially if you can't spawn inside of a helicopter, which for whatever reason, if it says there's a spot open and you click on it, it still spawns you on the ground for, like I said, some unknown reason. It takes you forever to get from base spawn to flag or from flag to flag. This comes as a result of the introduction of 128 players in combination with some of the biggest maps that we've ever created as play spaces, which was a mistake, to be honest. While the larger maps offer more play space and freedom, a side effect is that gameplay is now spread out more, resulting in an overall increase in time to combat when related to playing the objective. We've seen you use terms such as walking simulator to describe how this feels in-game. That's kind of funny, actually. Never heard that one, but okay. We understand that this isn't a satisfying experience and agree that there's too much overall travel time. We're currently looking to reduce the overall travel time between flag and base spawn on some maps by moving both the base spawn and closest flags. We've already identified a number of obvious candidates that fall outside of our new expected behaviors, but we want to hear from you on this topic as well. Which maps presently provide a poor opening experience because of the location of the base spawn? Which maps are making it harder to get back into the fight in an all-cap scenario? Later on in the post, we'll share a link to general feedback thread that we've opened up to capture some of this feedback, but don't be shy to have these conversations out amongst other hubs of Battlefield community. We're out there monitoring the conversations and are keen to hear what you have to say. I will leave links to those feedback threads that they're talking about down in the description, as well as a link to this post, like I said in the little intro thing there. So that way, if you really don't want to listen to me flap my gums anymore than you already have, you can click that and read it instead. Next up, though, we have intensity, another area that we've identified where we feel that we can improve your gameplay experiences in the overall intensity of combat. Largely, we feel that this issue is mainly related to 128 player modes, and especially in Breakthrough. We know that during certain pushes for the objective, it can get too chaotic when fighting over flags. Either there are too many players or vehicles, and sometimes the overall chaos can make it feel overwhelming when accurately trying to assess what's happening around you. In terms of improvements, we are presently reviewing if it makes sense to keep Breakthrough as 128 players versus 64, or if we feel that a reduction in the total number of vehicles that can spawn ensures that their presence isn't as overwhelming and gives infantry players a more important role. I think they should just drop everything down to 64 players, leave it that way, and reduce the number of vehicles as well. That'll improve all of overall gameplay in general, in my opinion. In the lead up to the holidays, we introduced 64 player Breakthrough and recently made some changes to the ticket values across the mode based on behaviors we are seeing in the final objective phase. Right now we feel that Breakthrough on 64 players provides the best experience of Breakthrough. There you go. Just bump it down to 64 as well as Conquest and just leave it at that. But we also want to hear from you around the intensity of the experience on Breakthrough. How do you feel about the current balance between infantry and vehicles on the modes? Have you played 64 player Breakthrough? And do you feel that this is the better way to experience the mode? We're still in the process of working towards our next phase of improvements for the mode, and we'd like to incorporate as much of your feedback as possible into that process. I think, like I've said multiple times now, 64 players for all modes, less vehicles, And in fact, can we just have an infantry only mode? Like no vehicles at all? Please and thank you. All right, thirdly, we have line of sight. Line of sight is another topic that we've received plenty of feedback on. When we refer to line of sight, we're relating this to how often you're taking fire from enemies at distance. We feel and have heard from you that there are presently too many open and flat spaces on some of our maps, which puts too much focus on direct, long-distance combat between objectives. We largely see that feedback aimed at certain areas in Kaleidoscope, but have observed discussion on other areas of our maps as well. Kaleidoscope is a really bad one, mostly because, in my opinion, it's rooftops. People can get up on the rooftops really easily, and there's really not much cover from base spawn to the first set of flags if you're playing Conquest or Breakthrough. Especially in Conquest, though, people being able to get up on those rooftops with sniper rifles and just sit there while you run around in the open, it's a little shitty, to be honest. Our current plan for improvement is to ensure that there are more opportunities to hide yourself from enemy line of sight while traversing from objective to objective, with a goal of ours being to reduce the focus on long-range combat and the necessity of carrying weapons which perform best in these ranges. As shared earlier, we presently feel that Kaleidoscope is an obvious offender, thank you, there we go, for line of sight challenges, and are already making passes internally on improving certain areas of the map, including redesigning our breakthrough experience to move combat into areas of the map where better cover already exists. What we'd like to hear from you is on which maps and flags you see the most immediate need for more line of sight blockers. Knowing this will help us to best prioritize the work that we go on to do and parallel with other changes and ensure that we're addressing the next biggest offenders in good order. Alright, moving on, we've got paths. Another feedback area of focus is not having clear paths towards objectives, and the lanes that players are most commonly traveling in when moving between objectives. Without a clear intended path, enemy fire is more often coming in from all possible angles. We recognize that when you're defending, this can make it difficult to hold the objective, and when on the attack, we see players exposing themselves on bad lanes in bids to push for a flag. We're presently looking to bring improvements into the paths that we have on our maps to make clearer and more defined paths while traveling between objectives in order to keep combat focused and to make it easier to understand how to get from one objective to the next. If you have thoughts or examples that align to these goals, please don't be shy to show us. These can be as basic as extracting a 2-minute clip of you moving from flag to flag and calling out to us the experience you had whilst doing that, good or bad, or discussion of specific areas that you feel are presently lacking good pathing or are the best examples of where this is currently strongest. I don't think they need to get make lanes. I think that makes it too predictable and makes it stale. I think we need to keep it the way it is. Like what I'm trying to say is keep all the possible angles. Like enemy fire is more often coming in from all possible angles. Good. It should. That's war. That's combat. You know, we're not gonna sit there and go, okay, hey, pause for the cause, fellas. I gotta run down this lane. Don't shoot at me from over here, please. You're not supposed to be there. I think with the path scenario, we leave it the way it is. Not so much lanes, but look at the exposure, more cover. And that's what we're gonna cover next. You know, no pun intended, I guess, but cover. Give us more cover, not lanes. We don't want a linear path like, hey, from A1 to B1, this is the best lane because this is where the enemy knows you're going to be, not from all around. If that makes any sense. Don't make it linear and don't make it predictable is basically what I'm saying. And like I said, give us more cover, and we're going to cover that right now. Lastly, and similar to line of sight, the current lack of cover across maps is another improvement area which is also caused by the open and flat spaces that you have encountered on certain maps. While we are trying to limit direct long-range combat between objectives, we are also looking to ensure sufficient cover for when you are traveling between the objectives. We are looking to address this by reviewing the need for additional cover in places where we feel that you're needed. In line with what we've been discussing and some of our other focus areas, our intent is to reduce the likelihood of being fired at from a 360-degree angle and to take away that Hail Mary feeling of running onto no man's land between objectives. If you have any specific areas on maps that are currently standing out to you, which lack cover, then we'd love to hear from you. See, that's what we need though. We need the 360-degree angle. We need the Hail Mary feeling of running into no man's land. We need no man's land. Like, look what Battlefield 1 brought to the table, which was that atmosphere, that feeling, that no man's land. Like, all right, fellas, we got to take this last objective or we're going to lose, but we've got enemies on the left, the front, and the right of us. Only way in is straight. The more the merrier. Let's all fucking run off and go cap this objective and hold it down the best we can. We need that feeling. their thoughts are in the right direction, but the way they're wanting to implement it into the game is just it's gonna be stale. It's gonna make matches predictable. It's not gonna be the fun that they think it is. And I'm gonna bring this feedback to them over on the links that I'm gonna share in the description, but I just want to get it out there to all of y'all as well. All right, they give us some examples of these improvement areas across current maps. To give you a better understanding of what we've outlined today, here are a few examples of these areas in game that we see today as negatively impacting your gameplay experience. Breakthrough, Sector A on Kaleidoscope Large. This is a good example of where we feel the objectives are too far from the defending base spawn. It's difficult to make it from spawn to those objectives alive. There's very little cover across the immediate road and grassy embankments as soon as you're out of the spawn area. We feel it's currently too unforgiving for the attacking side. As you can see there in Sector 1, you've got, as of 0.3.3, the layout, you have A1 and A2 very, very near the Russian spawn and not so much towards the defending spawn, which makes it harder for those that are defending to get there and prevent them from taking them, which in my experience it usually ended up at the Charlie flags, and it ended up with the defending team winning when I think it was the Charlie 2 flag was up on top of the roof until they moved it down. But then you go over here to the right and you have the prototype layout where they've completely changed it up, dropped it down to different sections to get different paths, different plays, make it the spacing better for both attacking and defending bases. Now, Conquest on Kaleidoscope, we notice very few people run from the left tower up through the skate park and to the dome. There are too many open spaces without cover, which leave you open for a lengthy amount of time. And they're not wrong at all. If you run from, try to run through that skate park, there's no cover at all. Aircraft can just shit all over you, and infantry that have the high ground over there can just shit all over you as well. When can we expect these planned improvements to be live in-game? The plans that we've outlined to you today will require substantial development time, so we want to be transparent that not all of these proposed changes will be available to you in-game simultaneously across all of our library of maps. We've established some healthier behaviors that have already started to incorporate into new maps that are in development for the game, but we'll be approaching the updating of old maps with dedicated focus to the maps most needing the changes first. So they're gonna incorporate these changes into the new maps as they come out in DLCs. They'll come back to the old ones, but they're gonna go in lists like the highest priority map that everybody gives to them in feedback. So if you have one map in particular that you want changed, that's high on your list, send it to them in that feedback. Maybe just send them a list saying, hey, this map has this problem, this map has this problem, this map has this problem. Think you should start with this map and work your way down. That'll help them get their priority lists in order so they can start working on the ones that the community needs changed to better their experience in the game. Our immediate priority areas of focus is to make improvements to Kaleidoscope on both Conquest and Breakthrough. We know that we have the most opportunity to improve gameplay on this map, and there is where you can expect to see the first updates to land. We're currently planning to deliver updates specifically to Kaleidoscope during Season 1, which is in early summer, no exact date, and your feedback will help us to not only optimize the changes that we're making to this map, but best and foremost on where our focus on improving maps should move to next. What do these identified improvement areas mean for future map designs? The biggest action point for ourselves is that bigger maps don't necessarily mean more freedom in play styles or fun. So you can expect future maps to be smaller in scale than most of our release maps. That's amazing. That's the biggest thing that I've been asking for since this game came out. Drop those damn map sizes down. They are way too big. This also means that we are reviewing a possible reduction in the number of sectors and total capture points per map when playing at 128 players. We're also thinking about changing the shape of the maps to give them more sense of direction. We feel that going from a common battlefield standard of a square-shaped play space to a rectangular shape, most commonly used in some of our older entries in the franchise, can better incentivize pushing forward versus circling out sideways. We feel that this can help to focus areas of combat, enable you to have more focused awareness, and reduce opportunities for enemy fire to come in from all around you. And lastly, what's next? We hope today we've given you a good overview of how we've been collecting your feedback around map design and our thought process on how we can improve. We'd like to keep this as an open discussion with you, the community, and we're looking forward to your thoughts on what we've outlined today. Throughout the post today, we posted a lot of questions, and we invite you to share your thoughts, feelings, and responses over on the official Battlefield forums. I'll leave a link to those in the description as well. But we'll, of course, be reading your comments across multiple hubs of community, such as Discord, Reddit, and social media. Lastly, we'd like to end with once again stating our dedication to the continued effort of improving on and delivering new content for Battlefield 2042. Alright, so now we know for sure that they aren't cutting support for Battlefield 2042, and they're actually going to try and make amends. You know what I'm trying to say? Make ends meet and make it better for the players. They're trying to tell us that we're listening. We're not going to cut support. We're going to take what you guys give us, and we're going to put it in the game, and we're going to try and make it better for those of you that are still playing and dedicated. So, alright, with all of that out of the way, that's going to do it for this one. If any more news or any updates come out, I will be sure to make another video and let you guys know as soon as possible. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you didn't give two shits about listening to me babble or just any of the info there, dislike, not going to hurt my feelings. Sub to show some love, and I will see you guys in the next one.